All right, so we'll start from the top. We have John Jones actually successfully keeping his light heavyweight title over Anthony Smith. After a long 5 rounds, just John Jones just kind of indicates he's doing whatever he wants. Does he move up to heavyweight at this point, or does he stay at 205?
So here's my thing: is I kind of think that John winning and being successful is helping him regain his image. I think that the more consistent he fights and the more that he shows these dominant performances, people are willing to forget about his past. So I honestly think he should stay at light heavyweight. I think there's contenders there with Santos, with Johnny Walker, who we'll talk about later today.
Yeah.
I think that there's stuff out there for him. Corey Anderson, let's say he beats all three of those guys, and there's literally nothing left. Then that's when you move to heavyweight, in my opinion.
It's for the right fight, right?
It really is. And with heavyweight, the only thing you're going to run into is DC is not going to be fighting much longer. So if you're going to do the DC fight, it needs to happen somewhat soon. I think the problem with the DC fight, though, is John Jones has to be the heel. And right now, you don't want him to be the heel. He's trying to regain his image. He's trying to show that he can be a guy you can depend on for these fights and stuff like that. And I think hating John Jones right now is not really what the UFC wants to do.
And he just had his chance right now talking to Joe Rogan to call somebody out. He's deciding not to do that.
Right.
He should have called out a Brock Lesnar.
Right.
Somebody, a big name at heavyweight.
He could have talked trash on Daniel Cormier.
He just said he wants to go back to the gym, just keep getting better. He acknowledged that there's up-and-coming rising stars at 205 and just kind of next man up.
Thoughts on Anthony Smith?
Where does he go from here? This is his shot.
Just in general, though, what did you think of his performance?
Well, he stood in front of John the whole time.
Yeah.
So
he took an onslaught, really.
I
think a lot of guys would have got finished. And what blew me away is the man literally could have decided not to continue. He would have become the world champion. He would have got the pay-per-view bonus in the rematch. You're talking life-changing money.
Right.
You're talking like Vitor Belfort, for example. He won the title off of Randy Couture because he cut him over the eye when he threw a punch, and the glove grazed his eye. It never really hit him. And he's known as a former light heavyweight champion because of that. Regardless, whatever happens, Anthony Smith would have been known as a former light heavyweight champion, but because he didn't want to win it that way, like he said, he would have stole the belt and not won it. There's not a lot of people on this earth that wouldn't have took that golden ticket. And man, I give him a lot of respect for that.
Yeah. This is his one shot at the title. He'll keep fighting, obviously. He'll have to really earn his way right back up to a title shot.
Yeah.
He's not going to go in 1-1 fight.
I think he's one of those guys that could possibly be a contender when John goes to heavyweight and he's still at light heavyweight.
Right.
I think that could be more of a, he's already fought Santos in 185 and he got beat that way.
Yeah.
And so I think that would be an interesting rematch. Let's say Santos becomes a light heavyweight champion or something like that. You could run that.
Which Santos, to me right now, if you got to pick somebody, he's the next man up for John.
Unless the UFC just wants to go full steam ahead with Johnny Walker. But
yeah, it's just, to me, it's going from number 15 all the way to a title shot.
Hey, Darren Till got a title shot after one big fight.
Right.
So I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You just never know with the UFC right now. I don't think anything of them makes sense. I think that they're literally just looking for big fights to make. And it's one of those things, too, that they're not going to hold up anything for a fight. So if, for whatever reason, Santos can't fight and Johnny Walker can, okay, Johnny Walker, you're fighting then. They're in a mode now where they're literally just pushing the narrative that you either fight or you don't fight, and if you don't fight, then you lose your title shot, and we're moving on with somebody else.
And as we saw, John really didn't take hardly any damage.
No.
He hit a right hand from Anthony Smith at one point. I think it cut him, a little small cut.
Yep.
Other than that, that's really, to me, that's it as far as any kind of damage that he took.
And just with John Jones in general, I'm so impressed by how he manages distance, how he can literally do everything. He can wrestle, he can dirty box, he can strike, he can kick, he can punch, he can throw elbows, he's He can clinch. I mean, there's really nothing he can't do, and he's a master at managing distance. Guys just have such a hard time breaking his reach and getting inside on him. And really the only people that we've seen do that, I mean, of course, Gustafsson, when he, obviously it looked like he really didn't train for that fight. And then Daniel Cormier has been able to hit John quite often, but he just can't hurt him because he just doesn't have the power at 205.
Right.
But that's really it. And I mean, even DC, it's such a small guy compared to John. Like, it's really, like, you need a wish and a prayer to be able to beat John at light heavyweight. I just don't see how anybody can beat John at light heavyweight right now. The guy is not out there. Now, 5 years from now, maybe. But you just never know.
And speaking of guys you can't beat, Kamaru Usman, man, you talk about domination. Is that the most dominant title change you've seen in UFC history?
Man, maybe.
I mean, we saw the Hall
especially from a long time champion like that.
Right.
Like, and I mean, you've seen like your freak, knockdowns or get caught, like, Sarah over GSP, BJ Penn over Matt Hughes, stuff like that. But like, to just literally take someone's soul into deep water and just beat the crap out of them, man, it was impressive. But I did call it. I told you he was going to win. And I also, we do a UFC fantasy draft, and I drafted Usman because I felt like he was going to win. And the reason I felt like he was going to win is everything that Woodley's good at, so is Usman. And Usman's undefeated, has better cardio, and he is undefeated actually, right? He's taken one loss.
Right, early
right.
Career.
But like, he's been on a roll in the UFC. And he's taken guys just into deep water. His cardio is ridiculous. It's at a constant pace. And then one thing that was the closing factor to me is when they announced the fight and they did the stare down, the face-off, Usman was bigger. He was taller. He was bigger in the shoulders. Like, I was like, there's nothing that Woodley really has an advantage on. So it to me, it was obvious that Usman was going to win. You have Woodley, who has been this long-time champion and all this stuff. But to me, what really broke him was after the second round. Because in the first round, he pretty much just had Usman dictate the pace. He was winning in the stand-up exchanges. In the second round, he got taken down, slammed, then mounted, then just ground and pounded. He took his will at that. And then I feel like at the second round, Woodley knew he couldn't beat him. And then it was just all downhill for Woodley after that. Yeah, very impressed. Very impressed.
What do you do with Woodley from here?
I want to give him Robbie. I think that Robbie, we'll talk about that fight, but I think that Robbie never got a rematch when he was a long-term welterweight champion. He never got a rematch, and it was a freak punch. It really was. And I think Robbie would learn a lot from that fight, and I think that he could beat Woodley. And I think that I want Woodley to work his way back up. He needs to be humbled. He got completely dominated, and if he thinks that because of his resume that he's already claiming and that he was the greatest welterweight of all time and all this stuff, that he deserves an immediate rematch, there's nothing that he did in that fight that shows you that he deserves an immediate rematch. I don't think he won 10 seconds of the fight. I mean, I think he thoroughly got dominated. It was very much like Francis Stipe-like, but the difference is, I mean, Francis at least had some moments in the first round or so, but he broke him, and I don't know if Woodley will ever be the same after this fight. Like, he broke him.
Yeah, he really did. I mean, you could tell after the end of the fourth round.
Yep.
Like, you thought he was going to go to the corner and say, "I'm done."
I did. After the fourth round, he kind of took out his mouthpiece. He just stood there, and he didn't know if he wanted to walk to his corner or what he wanted to do, and it felt like he wanted to quit. And then he sat on the stool, and like they're trying to pump him up and all this stuff, and you could just see in his eyes, like, "No, I'm done. I'm out. I got nothing left." So.
Now they're doing Usman versus Covington. Covington's going to get his title shot now, it seems like.
And this is the thing. I think people, they hate Colby because, he's fake and he's arrogant and all this stuff. But people forget how good of a fighter Colby is. Colby's a really good fighter. And what I love about this fight is they match up really well. Usman and Colby, They both come forward. They're both cardio machines. They're both great at wrestling. They both can stand. Like, I really think that this is going to be like that young up-and-comer. Both of them are. One's interim champ. One's the real champ. Like, this is going to be a great fight. And they hate each other. Yeah. They absolutely hate each other. Usman has been wanting Colby for a long time, and the only reason that Colby wasn't interested is because he had his eye set on Woodley. But now it's flipped. He's ready to fight Usman. I think it's going to be a great fight. I think it's going to have a great build-up. And I really think that Tyron Woodley's going to get kind of lost in the shuffle. I mean, he's 36 years old. He is not easy to deal with. And if he is not going to have this "I'll do whatever the UFC wants" attitude, he is going to have a really hard time ever seeing that belt again.
And curious to see how healthy is Usman. We saw him kind of limping out of the octagon. You read that he has a fractured foot of some sort?
He had a fractured foot. So apparently he had a fractured foot going into this fight. He was in a brace or whatever and a walking boot, I think even. And they said that he took a cortisone shot to his foot to make it through the fight, and he did. So, I mean, that's really impressive. I mean, he wasn't even 100%. He steamrolled Woodley. So.
And Colby hasn't fought since June.
Yep.
So if they push this off, just say this drags out till the late summer or fall, you're talking over a year since Colby's fought last. Yep. He'll still get the shot, but it's just something kind of interesting to kind of keep in the back of your mind when they do actually get around to this fight.
Absolutely. I mean, right now you have to put Usman as the favorite. But like I said, don't sleep on Colby. That's going to be a fight. That is going to be a damn good fight. I'm looking forward to it.
Ben Askren, successful in his UFC debut.
Oh, my God.
Controversially with Robbie Lawler. So he was going for the takedown like we all knew that he was going to do. And then out of nowhere, Lawler just attitude adjustment.
Oh, man.
John Cena style. Just dumps him on his head.
It just shows you how powerful Robbie is, like, when he's just in full beast mode. I mean, good God.
I mean, he was just dropping bombs. We thought the fight was going to be done.
Yes, hammers. I mean, his face is busted. He's bleeding. You've got Big Mouth Askren just, like, bleeding all over the place in the first minute of coming into the UFC. And it was just such irony, right? And, you got to give him credit, though. Like, he took a serious knee to the body that backed him up. He was hurt, but he just kept coming forward. He kept coming forward. He kept coming forward. He finally got his takedown that he was looking for. And everybody knows that Askren has, like, a gorilla grip, like a really strong gorilla-type grip. And when he had Robbie and Robbie's arm dropped like it looked limp, I literally was like, oh, my God, stop the fight. Like, in my mind, I'm like, you're going to kill him if you just let him just hold on to him forever. Right. It looked like he was out, and he wasn't out. Like, as soon as they stopped the fight, you see Robbie's head pop right up. He's pissed off. He's like, what's going on? And you're like, damn. But from Herb Dean's vantage point, or who was it, Herb Dean? I think it was Herb Dean. Pretty sure it was Herb Dean. Yeah. From his vantage point,
it was.
From his vantage point is the same point that we saw from the camera,
right.
And it looked clear as day that Robbie Lawler was out cold.
Asking him if he's okay, but like Dominic Cruz was pointing out, if he's locked around his mouth like that, what's he going to say? You can do the thumbs up like a lot of fighters do as well, which he didn't do. He just kind of sat there. If he was out, he doesn't know, but the ref's got to make a snap judgment decision on the spot if he's out or not.
Right. So I think Robbie didn't do himself any favors by the way that he dropped his hand, because he had his hand wrapped around Ben's neck and it just dropped to the point where it looked limp. And then he kind of picked it back up. You could tell a little bit, but honestly, from the camera viewpoint that I saw, I thought Robbie Lawler was out cold. I really did. So I understand the stoppage. Me personally, I don't want to see the fight again. I didn't like the fight in the first place. I didn't want to see them fight. I felt like Askren has talked so much crap on so many people. He should fight one of those people. Robbie, I think, like I said, I would give him Woodley. I would run that back, and I would make that fight and be the fight for Robbie, and we would move on from Askren. Askren can fight the winner of Till and Masvidal. That's what he wants. And I don't know. To me, Askren, I thought he would do better. I really did. I didn't think he would get caught like that. I didn't think that he would be in that big of danger. And it does make it interesting to me if he's going to fight killers in there that are stand-up guys that have decent takedown defense, he might not do so well. So it was a great fight for Ben, though, like Ariel said, because it's the controversy's there now. People hate him even more. And he got a W, and he looked vulnerable.
And he's not going to get a title shot. I
No.
think if he would have went in there and looked impressive,
Yeah,
Covington may not have gotten that shot. So this has actually worked out in the favor of Covington getting
that's
that
very
shot.
true. And then he can kind of get revenge for his friend and all that, and they could build that up. And then he had the audacity to tweet out that Usman fought like a bitch. And I'm like, if Usman fought like a bitch, then what did Tyron Woodley fight like? Jeez. You know what I mean? So he's got to give respect where it's due. But yeah, Ben Askren is now in the UFC. We'll see where they match him up. I don't think that he's doing any favors by trying to make enemies with Dana. And I don't know. I feel like you feel like the UFC wants to run that fight back?
I don't think they will. I don't. I just think they'll just move on from there. What does Robbie really want to do at this point, actually?
Well, that's the point too. But also the fact Robbie kind of in a lot of people's eyes, I feel like he won the fight. In people's eyes,
right.
He blasted him, he cut him open, he was beating his ass, and then he had a terrible stoppage against him. I don't think that you need to run that back to make people feel like Robbie won the fight. People are going to think Robbie won the fight regardless. And also, Ben still gets a W. Ben still stays undefeated. I wouldn't mess with it. On to the next.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, give Robbie a good fight because of what happened to him. So let him fight a Woodley. Let him fight a Wonder Boy if he beats Pettis or whatever. Let him get a good fight in.
They open up the pay-per-view card with Pedro Munoz. This is Groundhog's Day with Cody Garbrandt. He gets into a firefight first round, ends up being the one that goes down to the canvas, takes another loss. Now to Pedro Munoz, he's lost 3 straight, all the same fashion, the previous 2 to TJ Dillashaw.
So here's my thing. How good does TJ Dillashaw look at this point? Because he lost to Dominic Cruz. He's lost to Henry Cejudo. The fights that really put him over were Hannon Barral, which, right. He's completely shot. And he's beat Cody twice. Well, now Cody's also been beat by somebody else.
Yeah, he needs another name. He's got to get another notable win.
So to me, TJ Dillashaw's stock continues to fall. And Cody, my God, are you just trying to go for fight of the nights? Because he got the fight of the night, but when it starts to get wild in there, he just cannot control himself, and he just gets caught every single time. It's like, man, you have got to be able to compose yourself and understand that if you're going to go for chin, it doesn't look like yours is going to win. That's just at the end of the day, that's what's happening. And I feel bad for the kid. He had a rocket strapped to him. They pushed him huge, and it hasn't worked out for him. And I feel like that he's going to need to go there. And, I wouldn't put him up there against the top contender or anything. I just put him up there against a guy that's maybe ranked 10th or, something like that. I don't know, 12th, and just see where he stands because this could get ugly.
All the credit to Pedro as well.
Oh, yeah.
Not to take nothing from him.
I've never really watched him fight too much, so I didn't really know. But, man, he had a chin. He took all of Cody's shots. He was able to just stand in there and bang. I was impressed.
One of the top contenders now, not to take away from a Marlon Moraes.
He's the number one contender.
Right.
He's the guy.
But you brought up a good point maybe to Aljamain Sterling.
Yeah.
And Pedro Munoz, something like that, where you're right below that number one contendership.
Right.
They'll go from there. With Cody, I don't know what's going to happen with him. He's got to obviously change his style. He cannot keep doing this.
No. Also, Tisha Torres fought whatever her name was.
Wiley Zhang.
Yeah. And I had Tisha on fantasy, and she lost. She failed me, but whatever.
Big shot for her, though. I think she was number 15 ranked. And Tisha's number 6 ranked. So she's going to jump up those rankings.
Yeah, that's right. She was. And I mean, I wasn't overly impressed. What did impress me though is Tisha's more of a wrestler, and she got her taken down, and then she was able to like flip positions on her. So she's pretty strong. Must be pretty strong. So we'll see. We'll go from there. But
Yeah, another, we're talking about rankings. Zabit Magomed Sharipov
yes,
defeats Jeremy
good
Stevens.
job on that last name. That's not easy. That's not easy.
Yeah, he was double-digit ranked. Jeremy Stevens was probably, what, 6 or 7, something like that, but possibly 5.
Yeah.
So kind of like with Wally Zane, he's going to jump right up. He's going to get a big jump in the rankings as well. He's got a big following behind him as well. A lot of people thinking he's a future champion. Not as far as being so much flashy, just more so he's winning these unanimous decision
But
fights.
he did throw some flash. He was doing some spinning kicks off the cage and like
Trying to, as far as connecting those.
Right, no, but like
Neil Rock knockouts.
he doesn't look like that guy at all though. Like when you look at him, when you see the highlight pad, but he's game, man. He'll fight. I liked him. I liked watching him fight. It was a good fight. And man, poor Jeremy Stevens. I mean, he was on a roll. He was right up there, like contender. You know, he faced Aldo, and Aldo kind of humbled him, and then man, he lost this one too. Like it's might be downhill for him. He's getting old, you know. He's had a lot of fights. So, I mean, he's always dangerous, though, for sure. But I just don't know if he'll ever get in that title contention again.
Someone who did have a highlight reel knockout, Johnny Walker,
Yeah.
over Misha Serkinov, I think 36 seconds.
Yeah.
Coming off a 15-second knockout last month.
I mean, in the
Calmed down on the post-fight celebrations.
Yeah. Oh, my God. I can't believe he separated his shoulder on a freaking worm.
Like reminds you something like Randy Orton used to do with the
right.
stomping his arms on the canvas. But, yeah, I mean, he could fight again next month for all we know.
Here's the thing, and we've seen this multiple times. If you're a guy that is on that contender type level and you finish your opponents in impressive fashion, you usually jump over people and you usually get more of a chance. And with him, it's like the UFC is going to want to strike while it's hot. So I think the next fight is going to be probably a number one contender fight for him. I don't think that he's going to keep going more and more and more. Like, I think that they're going to take him soon. And I think that they would rather have him and John Jones than someone like a Santos or something. Although, man, Santos is badass. Like, he could be difficult for John. He really could. I mean, John is John. I know that. But Santos he's a powerhouse, man. And at 205, he is a scary man. He is. And I don't know. It's crazy how fighters change and everything. I mean, Mousasi was beating Santos, you know, easily, and now all of a sudden Santos is on a roll. So you just never know how this fight game goes.
Diego Sanchez continues his win streak. He said, I think, 30 fights or something like that now?
Yeah, it's crazy.
He's one of the top leaders as far as all-time UFC fights.
It's crazy.
Now, he's fighting Mickey Gall. We talk about Diego having so many fights.
Yeah.
But he's not on a losing streak where this is a lose and go home for Diego. Mickey Gall entered this fight 5-1. So that's what you do have to keep in mind.
Yeah.
He's still young and very unseasoned in a way. I mean, Diego went in there and just smothered him.
I mean, the thing is, what's crazy is Mickey Gall, I mean, just dismantled CM Punk, right? Like, we all thought now Mickey Gall's the truth. Mickey Gall also beat Sage Northcutt.
Right.
You know, and so, like, you thought, okay, this guy's a big... I did not expect Diego to beat him, and Diego beat him in impressive fashion.
Well, it seems like that perfect, just the way with the age and the way their styles are, the perfect passing of the torch in a way, if you want to look at it that way, but not so much.
Nope.
So, I mean, Diego's still game at this age. So, anything else that stood out to you? Those are basically like the main fights and the main results as far as kind of rolling for the event.
I thought it was a good card. You know, the fights didn't necessarily deliver. There were some big moments, though. I mean, I think Usman's win was extremely impressive. I think we might be in for an Usman era. I mean, this guy might have the title for a long time. He's young. He's dangerous. He's got everything you need when it comes to being a dominant champion. John Jones is still John Jones. I mean, the leg kicks, the offensive strikes. he looks so calm in there, so composed. I hope he continues on this path of just, focusing on fighting and not goofing off and getting into a bunch of trouble, because the sport could use John Jones. John Jones is one of those guys that needs to be the Michael Jordan of the sport, and just hope all this steroid and, drugs and all this stuff just kind of goes away and we can appreciate him more.
Like Andrew's asking, is this the best show of the year?
No.
What's the best show of the year? So far, I mean.
I'm trying to even think. I wasn't like overly impressed by this show or anything.
Right. Well, I think those last two fights, the title fights, really drug.
Yeah.
Granted, we got a new champion. We saw how dominant John was, but there was no spectacular finish there, I guess. Yeah, and you were anticipating it, too, with how dominant Usman was. Okay, finish him. Okay, finish him. And we never got to see the finish.
Right.
Same thing with John. Okay, finish him. Okay, finish him.
Yeah, in the fourth round, or was it the fourth round? I don't know what it was, but, Usman almost knocked Woodley out. He had him hurt. And they were swinging. I thought he had him. So, yeah.
But what's up next is Junior Dos Santos, Derek Lewis next weekend.
Yeah, and then the next pay-per-view is Poirier, Holloway, and Israel and Gastelum.
Those would be good.
Yeah. So, I think we're going to have much better than this for sure. I don't think that this is going to be anything overly impressive.
On paper, it was stacked. It was a deep
card. Absolutely. I think it was the most stacked card of the year so far.
Right.
I'll definitely say that.
Wrestling-wise, there's WWE Fastlane.
Yeah.
I believe, that'll be the night after Junior Dos Santos and Derek Lewis next weekend.
Really? Wow, Fastlane's that soon, huh?
Yeah, you think they'd want to cut one of these pay-per-views out between Rumble and Mania. But, yeah.
That's stupid. Whatever.
Miscellaneous news and notes from the week. Anything that pops up you want to go over? Maybe AEW or...
AEW signed Will Ospreay's girlfriend, so maybe, just maybe, we can get a connection there and get him in there when his contract's up in New Japan. What else? Anything fight news that was crazy or anything?
Really
PSL with ESPN?
Yeah, I was going to say that. We had the 236 co-main and main event you just went over. That was really a big thing UFC-wise.
Right.
PFL's now with ESPN, and then it's like, okay, now they're on the same network as the UFC, so what does that really mean? And I guess maybe if you look at it this way, they came out and said it this way or presented it this way to where it's maybe a feeder league of some sort for the UFC to kind of pick from if they want to.
Yeah.
Maybe like an NXT to a WWE, you have your PFL to the UFC.
I think it's more like Evolve to the WWE. Like Evolve's kind of become that feeder league for the WWE, and they take guys, and then they also use their NXT guys and they put them on Evolve and stuff.
Right.
I think it's kind of like that. What's Kayla Harrison? Right?
She's the big name.
She's the big name, and I feel like that if she really, turns out and wins a lot more fights or whatever, they're going to want to set up her and Cyborg. I feel like that is the fight to make. And who knows? Maybe they want to roll with Amanda too. And Amanda's even talking about possible retirement soon. She doesn't sound like she wants to do this much more.
The last I heard from her, she wants to fight at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So will we see the interim title for that division now?
She's holding babies, and she's, you know what I mean? I think her and her girlfriend are going to want to have a baby, and, she just wants to kind of give this whole thing up soon. So, she made a lot of money at this point, so I don't blame her. But, yeah, so that's really all that I can think of. Also, one match that excites me is WrestleCon announced that we'll have Ospreay versus Bandito. I think that's fantastic. Also, the Fight app is now offering 20 wrestling shows during WrestleMania weekend. That was normally be $280 package for $120. And also, Fight announced that if you are an Honor Club member, you can watch live shows through Fight with your Honor Club, as long as you have the correct package or whatever. So that's huge, because before, if you were an Honor Club member, you couldn't watch the shows live. It was just, their apps weren't up to date, and it was just a big frustrating mess. Now you can do that, and you can access all the playable content from Fight. You can still watch it on there too. So that's a really good deal.
Yeah. But besides that, really, in WWE, you have all your stuff leading up to WrestleMania, all the random shit that they're doing right now with bringing up NXT guys, and
which I think was that was a big mistake. I don't think that they did that right at all.
No.
and now they're talking about possibly putting them in tag teams. Like, I just, and then you had Kofi, who's had like this momentum or whatever, and then you just put in Kevin Owens. So now it's like, okay. And then this is my thing is like everyone's like, oh, that means Kofi's going to win the title. Okay, so you brought Kevin Owens in just to lose? Like you've been showing these video packages and all these things, and all you're doing is just bringing him in to lose. And then with Kofi, it's like, okay, so let's say Kevin Owens wins, then he's going to face Kofi, and Kevin Owens is kind of he's supposed to be kind of a face, right? Because he just beat Daniel Bryan, so
Right.
it just doesn't make any sense. I don't get it.
I mean, at this point, they're riding the wave with Kofi and doing a slow burn with him going into Mania. That's obviously what they're doing. Now, as far as actually putting the title on Kofi, you would think that's what the payoff's going to be.
I just don't see it, and I wouldn't be surprised if Roman gets in there. I'm telling you, you want Roman. They're going to want Roman in a big match, and I don't know. And maybe they do the Shield match that what everybody's been wanting forever, but they can't because Seth Rollins is Brock, so forget that. Right. So I don't know what they're going to do with Roman. And then for me, I feel like with Daniel Bryan with that belt, that seems like a long-term thing. I just don't see Kofi winning that belt and holding up the hemp title, and it just.
No, I mean, if it happens, it's going to be a short-term deal to go right back to Bryan because, like you said, they're invested in switching out the actual design of the title. They're all in on his character that he's been doing.
Right. So I don't know, not buying it.
A shout out to Andrew Reed. Thank you for the donation, Andrew.
Appreciate it.
His question is actually, do you think the Hall of Fame this year is the weakest class in history? Which we're still kind of getting at. What they've officially announced so far is DX and the Honky Tonk Man.
Definitely.
And rumors of maybe the Hart Foundation, Brutus Beefcake going in. I mean,
I've heard Tori Wilson. I've heard Taz.
Wilson as well. Taz, okay.
I mean, and it's okay, but like, where's your headliner? Where's your?
You know, and it seemed like they took quite a while to even announce DX as the big name for this year.
Yeah.
You would think like New York. Where's The Rock at?
Right.
At this point. I mean, Austin went in 10 years ago at this point.
Where's Taker? You know? And Taker, honestly, it seems like there's a little beef there. Like, it's not all happy-go-lucky right now with the WWE and Taker. So, I don't know. Also, I heard that there was someone that posted on Twitter that they feel like that Dustin, Goldust, Dusty Rhodes, or whatever, Dustin Reynolds, whatever you want to call him, his contract looks like it has expired with WWE or he's been released. Nothing's been confirmed of that. And he's kind of been hinting at stuff. If that's the case, that's Cody's match. That's definitely going to be Cody's match at Double or Nothing. He's talking about how it's been personal and all this stuff. Like, if that's the case, that's the match. And I would be okay with it because I think they would come up with a great storyline. Like, I really do think that they would be able to hammer something really good out there. Yep. Also, how did you feel about Jericho's promo and how he's the reason for all this and all that stuff? Like, you think that that's the character that he will be in AEW?
Yeah.
I do too.
I mean, they're playing it up. If you're watching even Cody's channel, actually.
Yep.
American Nightmare Family.
And it looked like Cody wasn't happy with it.
Yeah,
either.
They're playing that up. So, I mean, why not? I mean, Jericho's going to be Jericho.
Oh, yeah.
He's playing the character 24/7.
Right.
Which is great.
And I feel like though that if anybody from the WWE jumps, then Jericho's going to have a problem with it because it's like, this is my company. I chose this. Now you want to ride on my coattails. Like, he can always have matches and stuff that can, be part of that. Like, but I feel like that he's going to be that type of character. So.
And they did announce, I believe on the same video as well, Brandy was speaking to the latest woman that they're bringing into the division.
Yep.
That the second event's going to be in July.
Yep.
In Jacksonville.
Fight for the Fallen.
Right. Not the exact date, not an arena that they spoke out loud about.
Right.
But we know it's going to be July. We knew it was going to be sometime in the summer. So we'll see. I don't know if even know if it's going to be a storyline involved kind of a show or is it just going to be like a tribute to the troops kind of a deal.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, it was every week, man. There's just a ton of stories, ton of news, ton of everything. Jason Witten's coming out of retirement to come back to the Cowboys. I mean, I can't leave my damn phone alone. Like, I just am on Twitter all the time because there's just always something. You just never know when something pops up. You know what I mean? whether it's Colby Covington following Dana into a casino and asking for his title shot, or like I said, following the combine. Like I can't keep up. There's just always something going on. It's crazy times right now.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions in the chat box, or are we good?
Last one, Andrew actually was asking, do you think Roman's going to get booed again like he did before sickness? Do you think it's going to get to that point where it's going to be kind of like overkill, overexposure possibly?
It's possible. Not right now.
Yeah, not right now, but just like it sounds like they might do a match at Fastlane even with the Shield.
It's possible. I just think at the end of the day, if Roman has long title reigns, people are not going to be behind it, period. Like, it's just the end of the day. That's not going to happen. And you can't have him kick out of 6 F5s and, all this stuff. Like, he's got to look like he is beatable. I think that's the biggest thing. And honestly, if I was the WWE, I'd act like that. I'd say, look, this guy's been through cancer. He might not be as strong anymore. And maybe I'd have him lose a couple of matches here or there just to get the people off of his ass, just to get people to understand that he is vulnerable and that he can lose. Like, I feel like that nobody wants to go see a show where they know 100% this guy's going to win. Like, it depends on the situation, but when it comes to Roman and you pay tickets for the main events and all this stuff, like, you just don't want to just go there and just expect him to win everything and get all this push, and it just, But I do think, though, that wrestling fans are kind of one of those types that's like, are you on our side? And if you're on our side, we're going to ride with you. And so we see that you had cancer, you battled it, and you came back for us. Like, we appreciate that. We respect you for that. And so I do see him getting some props for that. The real question to me is Becky. Like, how long is this Becky thing going to work out? Because I'm sorry, I don't feel like wrestling fans are really going to buy into her as the new Stone Cold. I just don't see that happening.
Well, they're doing a lot of the similar storylines and angles with her.
Yes.
Austin-esque from back in the day. But like you're saying, she's not necessarily on every show. That was my big thing starting out. That she was going to be on Raw and SmackDown every single week. And they're doing the whole, she went to jail, she's suspended, yada, yada.
Yep.
And she's injured. And
then
she apologizes to the authority. And
put her mug shot on a T-shirt so she can get bailed out of jail. And, it just, And what I don't like is, why is Becky and Ronda just building this matchup and Charlotte is in this match? Like, all these tweets, all this build-up, all these, like, face-offs and all this is Becky and Ronda. This has nothing to do with Charlotte. You put Charlotte in there, and it just feels so WWE fake crap. Like, if Charlotte's going to be involved, then she needs to get personal with them as well. Like, it just can't be the Becky and Ronda show and Charlotte's just tagging along. Like, I just don't understand that.
Right. Now, Jeff was asking, maybe in one scenario, is Becky faces Charlotte at Fastlane to get a WrestleMania spot back, and possibly so. She's got to get her way back in, but obviously none of the McMahons or Triple H or whatever are going to put her in there. So,
then the problem is if Charlotte, let's say she loses, then what is her WrestleMania? Like, they've just handled it, which was last year. Well, and that was last year's match, And they can run that back in a rematch. It was a good match.
What do you want to see, that and Mandy Rose or
no.
Sonya Deville?
Or Lacey Evans or whatever the new one is.
She does more than walking up the damn ramp.
Oh, my God. Like, I feel like this promotion, this company, like, you should be so much more prepared than what you are. You have 30 freaking writers, and you can't come up with
anything. Look at the writers. Look at the agents now, the producers. Look, all the change they're going through right now leading up into Mania.
Yes.
They're going through so many changes leading up to the biggest show of the year. I think you're going to continue to see this. This is going to be this year, by the end of the year, because we're just getting started. After Mania actually happens and takes place, then you get the Superstar shakeup.
Yep.
And it's going to be all hands on deck for SmackDown going to Fox.
Here's my thing, is if AEW didn't exist, do those guys get called up from NXT?
Probably not.
I don't think so.
It's like they're hitting panic buttons every week.
I feel like it 100%. I feel like they're hitting the panic button.
And even the thing with Dean Ambrose is leaving. They announced he was leaving. It's like, is he really going to leave him?
Right.
Or are they going to throw him just a huge, fat contract?
Well, and I feel like they're going to really try to push the Shield angle and be like, look, we're not done with that. We're going to give you this. We're going to give you that. Like, please don't go, because there's a great point in whenever you show Shield footage, you can't show Dean Ambrose after he leaves, and that's going to be very difficult to act like that they just didn't exist or whatever, you know. So I think that 100% they don't want Dean Ambrose to leave, and you know he's stuck there for another basically 2 months, so they have a chance to really try to. It's actually really just a month. They have a chance to really try to push and see if they can get something done, but who knows? And what's crazy is because he is not quitting or being released, that he's just wrestling out his contract. He could show up to AEW the next day. You know what I mean? He could show up to a press conference the next day if he wanted to. No 90-day clause.
Fastlane is what, next week? We know like 3 matches that are happening.
Trash.
Mania, we know what, 2 matches that are happening. I mean, all this stuff's going to be thrown together, it seems like.
And like, okay, and even then, like Kevin Owens and Daniel Bryan, you've literally built that for 2 weeks. Just 2 weeks. At least with Kofi, you had it for the Elimination Chamber, and then on. It just made more sense. So I don't know. And then does Kofi even have a match? Is he even going to wrestle? Like, is he going to look like a threat?
He's got to be involved somehow.
And he's got to be somebody pretty credible to make him look like a threat to the title. You can't just be like, hey, you from New Day, you get a title now.
Yeah.
Thank you for your 11 years or whatever you've been with us. Like, it needs to be more than that.
One last point from Andrew is actually Ciampa. The report came out for his injury. It's some kind of neck injury he's been working with.
Yes.
That's why they didn't work TV this week for Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah.
But they also have the NXT tapings are actually kind of working their way out over the next few weeks, and you're going to, being spoiler free, you'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
I think without being even just using common sense, it's going to go to Ciampa, and Gargano would be the culmination of this whole thing at TakeOver.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to get that. It just depends. If they're going
I really just didn't want to see Johnny in the main roster. I felt like Johnny was just doing so well in NXT, and like he's just going to get lost in the shuffle in the main roster. Like, I understand that's where you want to be, you know, WWE and all that, but man, like NXT was really building something. They still have a loaded roster. Like, they're going to start being able to use guys that they haven't been able to use, like Dijak and Keith Lee. And Riddle will have more of a role. Like, they're definitely going to show up more, but it's unfortunate. I feel like that they really panicked. They really jumped the gun, and they had to like send out all these. Basically, they literally sent out 4 guys from Halftime Heat, 4 guys, and just said, "You're in the main roster now." Like, I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
New Japan release their New Japan Cup bracket. Any early predictions of who's going to take that thing to face Jay White?
I think it's either going to be Okada or Ibushi.
That's who I have as Ibushi.
That's my pick.
They could do the Tanahashi rematch down the road. They don't think go right back to
another match that was also announced next weekend is Ospreay versus Jay White. So it's Ospreay's the openweight champion or whatever, and Jay White is the champion. And Jay White is the IWGP champion. So that should be good. And then also Ospreay is in that tournament as well, and I think Ospreay's going to end up facing Okada because if you look at the bracket, Ospreay's going to win his match. Okada's going to beat Michael Elgin, and then it'll be Ospreay and Okada. And I just don't see Ospreay beating Okada. If he did, then he has a real shot. But I would love for Ospreay to beat Okada, and then it would be Ospreay and Ibushi in the finals because Ospreay and Ibushi kind of have unfinished business from Wrestle Kingdom. And I think that would be fantastic. But I don't see them not pushing Okada. So,
all right. I think that's all we got. So we want to thank you guys for joining us. Thank you again, Andrew, for chipping in.
It's been a long night. So it's we're ready to wrap this thing up. And what's the next event?
Just next week. It's as far as pay-per-view or just event in general?
Just event. One that we would probably cover.
That would be Fastlane.
Oh, boy.
So
aren't we lucky?
I know. That's why we want more matches.
Yeah.
The good thing is that's not going to be a 1 o'clock in the morning show that we get on here. We're going to try to get better, but we're jumping on right as they go off the air.
Right.
So, so next Sunday we'll be looking to come back on here and we'll talk about the next step on the road to WrestleMania.
Oh, boy, aren't we lucky. And then also if we don't cover Fastlane, we'll probably cover something at least. We'll go over something that happened through the week, and because you never know. Like I said, these weeks have been crazy news, and there's always something going on. So you'll be seeing us pretty frequently for sure. So appreciate it. Appreciate the donation, Andrew, and y'all take care.
See ya.